cancel our planned meeting scheduled for next week.
Then reporters on Air Force One coming back from that GOP retreat heard this from White House spokesman Sean Spicer.
Right now, our country's policy is to tax exports and let imports flow freely in, which is ridiculous.
Now, with the U.S. and Mexico at odds over the construction and payment for the border wall, Spicer says the administration will propose a 20% tax on some Mexican imports. Congress would have to approve that tax. But if that happened, Mexico expert Maureen Meyer presents this scenario.
We could actually see the unfortunate consequence of actually having more migrating to the United States because of the economic crisis that is likely to occur.
One sidebar to the border issue, the head of the U.S. Border Patrol, Mark Morgan, is out. Says he was asked to leave. CBS News Update. I'm Dave Barrett.
From our Ladder and Bloom studios, leading the way in Louisiana real estate for 100 years. It's WWL First News.
At 3:32, I'm Don Ames on your official weather station, WWLAMFMN.com. New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu's office today responded to the DA's claim that political squabbling resulted in a $600,000 budget cut to the prosecutor's office, calling it a temper tantrum. The city's deputy mayor for external affairs said if anyone is politicizing criminal justice, it's the district attorney. A man who spent more than 20 years behind bars for a 1992 crime spree and charges against him formally dropped in a New Orleans courtroom today on his 44th birthday. And Vice President Mike Pence is offering Republican lawmakers a preview of the upcoming Supreme Court pick. He says President Trump will nominate a strict constructionist to the High Court. Pence says the choice will be someone who supports a narrow reading of the U.S. Constitution. On Wall Street today, the Dow gained 32 points. The NASDAQ was down 1. Oil futures rose $1.03, closing at $53.78 a barrel.
Says that area is a big need for the black and gold.
That's a position that they're going to have to address. You know, they can't just depend on Jari and Streif having the type of year that they have, knowing that they're getting up in age.
Both Zach Streif and Jari Evans are 33 years old. Evans is also set to become an unrestricted free agent. Steve Geller, WWL Sports.
Today at 4 on Sports Talk with Bobby Hebert and Dick Villavia, which team is built for the long haul in the NFC South? How do the Saints compare to the Falcons, Panthers, and Bucks? Plus, get the view from Vegas for the best Super Bowl bets. Bundle up with the pros from 4 till 8 today on the home of the Saints and LSU, WWL. Your WWL forecast, clear and colder tonight with a low of 36 north of the lake and low 40s on the South Shore. Partly cloudy and cool again tomorrow with a high in the mid-50s, and will stay in the mid to upper 50s through the weekend. Right now, it's cloudy and 58 at the airport in Kenner. Partly sunny and 60 in Slidell. I'm Don Ames, WWL First News. And now look at WWL traffic.
From the WWL Traffic Center, I'm Bob Cross. From the west bank to the east bank of the Crescent City connection, you got some slowing on the upslope of the bridge. Opens up after Claiborne, and then slowing headed out to Metairie. Around the top of the Carrollton overpass. And on the 610, you delays back to City Park. This opens up after the Parish line on the I-10, and then slows again around Clearview. And on the Riverbound Expressway, delays back to Claiborne. Headed out New Orleans east to the high rise. We got stop and go traffic around the 10-610 merge on the I-10, and back to Broad on the 610. No advisories for the Causeway, Bonnie Carey Spillway moving well. Same for the I-310 between the I-10 and the Blue Lake Bridge. And your traffic brought to you by Visit Florida.
Beaches, theme parks, nightlife, and more. Head to Florida for your best winter ever. Plan your vacation at visitflorida.com.
Have a traffic tip? Call WWL 504-260-INFO.
Happy birthday today to Miss Jean Knight, born here in New Orleans. Jean Knight is 74 years old today, and this was her big smash nationwide hit. I'm Scoots. In the afternoon, this is where politics and pop culture meet your opinions every afternoon. Before I get back to your calls and more of your text, more conversations about progress and gentrification, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Some people use that in a very negative way. I don't mean that in a negative way. The British Prime Minister, Theresa May, is meeting with Donald Trump in Washington, D.C., and some are saying that this could be the beginning of a new relationship that would be similar to the relationship that George W. Bush had, or Ronald Reagan had with Margaret Thatcher. So it will be interesting to watch this. There are a lot of things that we certainly have in common with the country that we were ultimately born from, and they're perhaps our best ally in a lot of different ways. Donald Trump, again, before I get back to your calls, let's go to some of these highlights from Donald Trump's speech today, because I said we would talk about this. The congressional GOP policy retreat in Philadelphia was today. Trump flew up on Air Force One, and he said that, look, I like this. I don't care who you voted for. I like this thing that Donald Trump keeps saying when it comes to taking action, and I hope he follows through.
Enough all talk, no action. We have to deliver. This is our chance to achieve great and lasting change for our beloved nation.
And we hope the change is for the best. Trump also talked about the box office and those possible illegal votes.
We're going to protect the integrity of the ballot box, and we're going to defend the votes of the American citizens. So important.
Yeah, I'm not sure the integrity of the ballot box has been as compromised as he suggests. Now, there were some protesters outside of the hall where this meeting took place, and here's part of what people heard. Protests that do continue. Here is a text that says, topics are so related, mentality of the low income and the politics keeping New Orleans down. Look at whose family has been so involved. Landrew and Morial are the two names that have been used here. The argument can be made. I don't accuse either one of them of holding New Orleans down, and I don't know how involved those two families are in some of the things. I'm not just talking about those two families, but in general, this city is very, very sluggish with proceeding forward with a lot of projects, and it's because of the mentality that this city has had for so long. David, you're on WWL. Hello, David.
Yes, good. Before I talk about gentrification, you had a comment about 1950, hottest temperature on record for a particular day in regards to global warming. You know, anybody that knows anything about science, it's called an anomaly, an outlier. In order to get trend, you have to do a trend over years. And the scientific facts are the hottest temperatures recorded pretty much all over Earth have been in the last 10 years. And there's core samples that are taken in the ice cap of Iceland, which is several miles long, and they can go back hundreds and thousands of years and tell about the climate. And yes, there's cycles of warming and cooling, and they happen, and they test that. But there's a direct correlation with an exponential warming exactly when the industrial age started. And 99% of all scientists agree global warming. Sure, you can find some scientists, just like in a murder trial, you find some kook who say, no, we didn't do it. It's a fact. And why?
Well, but David, I was very careful. I'm not sure what you're talking about, because I was very careful in saying that this is not disputing global warming or the science behind that. It's just a fact that there are cyclical changes, and you can go back to the ice age. You can go back to different cyclical. I was just making that comment. And when the hottest January on record is 1950, it's just a reminder that some things are cyclical. That's why.
Well, I didn't want to make it sound like it's about you. There are so many people, naive people, and these politicians who are in the pocket of industry that don't want pollution control.